Hi everyone, I am Dr. Peiris. Today I am going to explain you how to obtain truth tables when the function is given. So what are the main topics that I am going to explain you today? First I will show you the three basic logic gates, then the operator precedence that we need to follow when we obtain the truth tables. Then I'll show you truth tables when there are 2 variables, 3 variables and 4 variables. So what are the three basic logic gates? So these are the three basic logic gates: the inverter, and OR gate. So this is the gate symbol for the inverter, and the boolean expression is y equals a prime. Y is the output, a is the input. So what happened in an inverter? If you look at the input column and the output column, you see that the input has changed the state. So the 0 becomes 1 and the 1 becomes 0. So what happened in an inverter? It basically complement the input. Zeros becomes ones and ones becomes zeros. The next one is the AND gate. So this is a 2 input AND gate. There are 2 inputs A and B. So the output expression is A dot B. The dot represent the AND operator. And sometimes we omit the dot to make it simple. So we can omit the dot, so it becomes A, B. Since there are 2 inputs, we are going to have 4 different combinations for the inputs. So there are 2 inputs A and B, so the combinations are 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 and 1 1. So what happened in the AND gate? If you look at the output column Y, the output is 1, only both inputs are equal to 1. And for the OR gate, this is the logic symbol, and the plus operator denote the OR operation between the inputs A and B. So again it's the same 4 combinations for the inputs, and the output column has 3 ones. So how do we remember this? If at least one input is 1, the output is 1. If at least one input is 1, the output is 1. So if both are 1, again the output is 1. So what is the operator precedence that we need to follow when we create truth tables? So the first thing we need to do is the NOT. So always you do the complement if you have any variables which are complemented. Then do the parentheses, always complete the parentheses. Then we do the AND first, then the last step is to do the OR. Now how do we know the number of different combinations that we have in a truth table, or basically how many rows we are going to have in a truth table? It is related to the number of inputs. So the number of different combinations are given by 2 to the nth power. N represent the number of inputs. So for example, if you have 3 input boolean expression, number of rows are equal to 2 to the third, which is 8. So you will have 8 rows in your truth table. And if it is a 4 input boolean expression, number of different combinations given by 2 raised to the 4th power, which means you will have 16 rows. Now let's see some examples to learn how to derive the truth tables when the boolean expression is given. So this is the first example. So in this example we have only 2 variables. So if you look at the given boolean expression, so this is A plus AB prime. So only 2 variables A and B. So if there are only 2 variables, which means we have only 4 different combinations. So what are the inputs? A and B. So these 2 columns represent the inputs A and B. So how do we write the zeros and ones for these 2 columns? How do we make the different combinations? The easier way to remember is, for the first input put 2 zeros and then 2 ones. For the second input 0 1 0 1, that is alternating. So once you write down the 4 different combinations, you can double check that if they are different or not. So the first one is 0 0, the second one 0 1 1 0, this is 1 1. Basically these need to equal to the equivalent decimal value. The first one is 0 in decimal, this is 1 in decimal, 2 in decimal, this is 3 in decimal. So this is how it must be in that particular order. So make sure that you keep that order so you don't get anything wrong when you do different types of analysis with the digital design. Now how do we start with this question? So following the order of precedence, we must first look at if we have any complements in our variables. So we can see that if you look at the expression for the f, so we have a b prime, so which is a complement. So you must make a column for the b prime first and then fill it. So what happened in a prime or an inverter, the zeros becomes ones and the ones becomes zeros. So if we follow that, the 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0, 0 become 1, 1 become 0. Then once we finish that, now we check if there is any parenthesis. In this question there are no parentheses, and the next thing is to do the AND operator. So we have an AND term here which is AB prime, so that is why this column is for the AND operator between A and B prime. So you must look at the columns A and B prime and then do the AND between these two. So we are looking at the A column and the B column, B prime column. So for the AND, to receive a 1, both inputs need to be 1. So both must be 1. So if you look at that, these two are 0, which means definitely this is going to be 0 and 0. Now let's see the third one. This is 1, this is also 1, which means the output is 1. For the last one, B prime is 0, which means the output has to be 0. Now the final expression is AO AB prime. So which means we need to do the O operation between the column A and the column AB prime. So this is a plus, which means the O. So in the O gate, if at least one input is 1, the output is 1. So for the first one, 0 0, which means it is going to be 0 0 0. So both are 0, the output is 0. So in this one, this is 1 1, so if at least 1 is 1, the output is always 1. So you don't even need to look at the other one. If one column is 1, the output must be 1. So this is the truth table for this given Boolean expression f. Now let's see another one. So again, this one has only two variables, a and b. So it is same 4 combinations for the a and b inputs. Now if you look at the expression, we have a prime, so we must do that first. So you must complement the column a. Zeros becomes ones and the ones becomes 0. So 0 become 1, 0 become 1, 1 becomes 0, 1 become 0. And then once you complete that, you see there is a parenthesis, so you must do that first. So that is why this column is for the parenthesis a prime o b. So we are looking at these two columns and we are doing the O operator because it is plus. So if one input is 1, the output has to be 1. So this is 1 1. So in this case both are 0, which means it is 0. Here this is 1, b is 1, so the output is 1. Now once you finish with that, we do the a times this one. The times means we are doing the AND operator between the a prime or b column and the a column. So for the AND, both inputs need to be 1. So these two are already 0, which means this is going to be 0 0. Now for the third one, this is 1, but this is 0, so which means this is 0. Fourth row, this is 1, this is also 1, so both are 1, which means the output is 1. So you basically need to remember at least the 3 basic gates and their corresponding tables to make the truth tables. Now let's see the next one. So this is a function with 3 variables. So if you look at the given function, this is a prime or bc. So there are 3 different letters a, b, c, which means I have 3 inputs a, b, c. So how do we make the values filled in for these 3 columns? So if there are 3 columns, so as I explained before, to find the number of different combinations, we do 2 raised to the number of inputs. So in this case it is 2 raised to the 3rd power, which means we're going to have 8 different combinations. So you see that there are 8 rows here correspond to the 8 different combinations. So what is the easier way to remember how to fill these columns? So always the first one filled with 4 zeros, then 4 ones. Second column always 2 zeros, 2 ones, 2 zeros, 2 ones. The third column 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1. So if you follow that order, you will get the correct order for these three input columns. So which means the first row correspond to 0, second one correspond to 1, third one correspond to 2, this correspond to 4, the next one correspond to 5, next one correspond to 6, this one correspond to 6, and this one correspond to 7. So which means you will find the equivalent decimal value if you do the rows properly. Now let's see what we have in our expression. So what is the first one that we need to do? The prime. So we have a prime, so I'm going to fill that a prime column, which means you need to complement that column. So all the zeros becomes ones and the ones becomes zeros. And then we do the AND between B and C. So we look at these two columns B and C. So only if both are 1, the output is 1. So you can look at which columns have both 1. So this two rows, these two columns, this row has both 1, which means it's going to be 1, and again this one has both 1, so it is 1, and everything else has a 0. So this is 0, this is 0 0 0 0 0. And the last part is to do the O operation between these two columns. So if at least one input is 1, the output has to be 1. So you see these are already 1, these 4 rows, so which means this is definitely going to be 1 1 1, and here both are 0, both are 0, both are 0, and here the BC term is 1, which means the output has to be 1. So this is how we do the truth tables with 3 variables. And another example with 3 variables. So again we fill the 3 columns with 8 different combinations. So again you do 4 zeros, 4 ones, 2 zeros, 2 1, 2 zeros, 2 1, 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1, like that. Now we start to fill with all the complements in the expression. So we have a prime and b prime, so we must fill these two columns first. So to get the a prime, complement the a, zeros becomes ones and ones becomes zeros. So these becomes all ones, 0 0 0. Similarly, to get the b prime, you complement the column b, the zeros becomes ones and ones becomes zeros. This is 1 1 0 0, 1 1 0 0. And then we do the parentheses. So in the parentheses we have a prime or b prime. So we do the operation between these two columns. So if one input is 1, the output has to be 1. So these are already 1, this is 1 1, and here both 0 0, so which means the output is 0 0. And the next one, once we finish the parentheses, we have this AND term. So a prime or b prime, then AND C. So we compare this column and the column for the C. Since we are doing the AND operation, so we need both inputs to be 1. So for the first one it is 0 and 1, which is 0. Next one 1 1, so it is 1. Next one C is 0, so the output is 0. The next one both are 1, so the output is 1. This is output 0 because the C is 0. The next one both are 1 1, which is 1. This is 0. The last one, this term is 0, so this is 0. Now once you finish with that, the last part is to do the O operation between that column and the A. So we have A and this column and the column for A, and we are doing the O operation. So which means if one input is 1, the output is 1. So if you look at that, you see these 4 already has 1s, which means the last 4 definitely going to be 1 1 1. Now you can look at the first 4 to see if there is any 1. So this one is 0, it's 0, so the output has to be 0. The next one, so this is 1, which means the output is 1. The third row both are 0, output is 0. Fourth one, it's 0 and 1, so which is 0. So this is how we do the 3 variable k-maps, 3 variable truth tables, sorry. Now let's see how to do a truth table for 4 variables. So for 4 variables, if you look at this expression f, so it has 4 different letters a, b, c, d, which means we have 4 input variables. So we need to have 2 raised to the 4th power, which is 16 different rows. So how to fill the 16 rows for the 4 inputs a, b, c, d. So these are 4 inputs, so how do we fill these values? So remember it like this: first one 8 zeros, then 8 ones, next one 4 zeros, 4 ones, 4 zeros, 4 ones, the next one 2 zeros, 2 1, 2 zeros, 2 1, 2 zeros, 2 1, 2 zeros, 2 1. The last one is alternating 0 1 0 1 0 1, like that. So there is a particular order that you can easily remember to fill these columns without losing any combination in the middle. And again, these are in the decimal order. So the first row correspond to 0, then 1, next one is 2, next one is 3, next one is 4, like that, and the last one correspond to decimal 15. So you have to make sure that you follow this corresponding pattern, so you will not alter the decimal organization. So that is why we do with first 8 zeros, then 8 ones, 4 zeros, 4 ones, 4 zeros, 4 1, then 2 zeros, 2 ones, 2 zeros, 2 1, like that. The last one is alternating between 0 and 1. Now we follow the same thing that we did before. We first do the complements. So in this we have d prime. This one, it is the a o b prime, the entire prime, so we don't do that first. We first do the d prime. So let's complete the d prime. So this column must be complemented. So all zeros becomes ones, ones becomes zeros. 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. So that is the d prime. Now the next one is the parentheses. So inside the parentheses we have a o b. So between column a and b we do the o operation. So if at least one is 1, the output is 1. So first one, both are 0. So in the first 4 both are 0, so the output is 0. So the next 4, b is 1, which means the output is going to be 1. And for the next 4, and actually for the next 8, a is 1. If a is 1, which means all of them going to be 1. Now look at the expression. So this says a o b complement, which means once we find the a o b column, we must take the complement of that. So all of these zeros becomes ones and ones becomes zeros in the next column. So this becomes ones and everything else becomes zeros. So once we finish with that, the next thing is to do the AND between C and A O B prime column. So we look at this column and then the column C. So we are doing the AND, which means both need to be 1. So for the first 2 rows the C is 0, so the output must be 0. The third one, both are 1, so this is 1. Fourth one, both are 1, so this is 1. And for all the rest of the rows, these are all zeros, which means the output has to be 0, because for the AND operation everything need to be 1 to receive output 1. So this is all zeros. So we finished with that part. The final part is to do the O D prime. So we have this column and we have the column for the D prime, and we are doing the O operation. So operation means if one input is 1, the output is 1. So let's compare the two columns. So for the first one, D prime is 1, so which means this has to be 1. The next one, both are 0, so the output is 1. And for the next two, it's 1 and 1, it is 1. The next one 0 and 1, so it is 1. Then we have 1 0, so which is going to be 1. 0 0 is 0, 1 0 is 1, 0 0 0. So basically the next rows follows the same pattern, 1 0 1 0 1 0, because the D prime goes as 1 0 1 0. So whenever the D prime is, since this entire thing is 0, so if the D prime is 1, the output is 1. So which means you just need to do the alteration between 0 and 1, 0 and 1. So this is the final output for this truth table. So this is how you simply make the truth table. So do one column at a time when you have multiple steps. So do only one step at a time so you don't miss anything, as well as you need to remember the OR gates and the AND gates. So that's all for today, everyone. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel Dr.Peiris Classroom for more classes, as well as visit my website drpeirisclassroom.com. You can find all the lectures at one place if you visit my website. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll meet you again with another video. Bye.